Have you ever wondered if the history you have been taught is the whole truth? For centuries, the story of India or Bharat has been told through a lens that wasn't our own. We were told we were a land of chaos before the civilizing touching of West. But what if I told you that this whole narrative was a carefully constructed myth? Today, we aren't just looking at dates, we are reclaiming a legacy that wasn't systematically obscured. It's time to dismantle the colonial distortion and rediscover the true gardener of Bharat. To understand where we are going, we must look at how we got here. Colonialism wasn't just about draining wealth, it was about the colonization of the mind. The British education system, famously influenced by Lord Macaulay, sought to create a class of people, Indian in blood but British in taste and intellect. By portraying India as a primitive society, the empire justified its rule. They ignored our ancient universities like Nalanda and Vikramshila, hubs of global learning, and replaced them with a narrative that suggests progress only arrived on steam engine from London. This background set the stage for a persistent misrepresentation that we are still fighting today. The myth of the civilizing mission, the most persistent colonial narrative, is that British unified India and bought infrastructure, which is in itself a true or complete lie, or we can say a propaganda. But historical data tells a different story. In 1700, India's shares of global GDP was nearly 24%. In 1947, after centuries of colonial extraction, it had plummeted to less than 4%. The railway weren't a gift, they were a tool for extraction, built with Indian tax money to transport resources out of the hinterland and into British ships. Science and civilizational depth. While the West often claims that the monopoly on scientific rediscovery or discovery, the civilizational depth of Bharat tells a different tale. Like thousands of years before modern medicine, Sushrut was performing complex surgeries, including rhinoplasty. Mathematics, the concept of zero itself, was given by India. The decimal system, the foundation of trigonometry, were developed by Indians' mind like Aryabhat, Brahmaputra. Let's first say urban planning, the Indus Valley civilization, and advanced drainage system and grid-based city planning at the time when Europe was in much more primitive state. We Indians have already achieved that. We have already done that in our land. Fabricated social obsession. We have often seen colonial historians often hyperfixating on India's social flaws to paint the entire culture as backward. While social issues existed, they ignored the sophisticated democratic structure of the Chola empires. They ignored that Vaisali was the place where democracy has basically given birth to, and that's why India is called mother of democracy. Or the local sabhas, where community consensus was the rule of law long before Western democracy took its modern shape. Now it's time basically to start reclaiming what is ours and to start reclaiming the heritage and national pride. We must feel pride in ourselves, in being a true Indian. That reclaiming heritage and national pride is a must now. Reclaiming this legacy isn't about living in the past, it's about empowering the future. It's about taking inspirations from the past and then implementing it in present and designing or basically imagine about the future. When a generation grows up believing they came from a failed society, they lack the confidence to be innovate, to do something extraordinary, and from that we must try to get rid of. By spotlighting this authentic contribution, we empower a new generation of Indians to challenge inherited distortion. This isn't just about nationalism, it's about historical justice. It is about standing with the unwavering pride and saying, we didn't just survive, we thrived, we pioneered, and we contributed to the global pool of knowledge long before we were colonized. Now, to be balanced, we must ask, is there a risk in reclaiming history? Like, we must understand the pros and cons and what it will bring with it. Actually, if we'll talk about the pros, it restores self-worth, encourages indigenous innovation, and corrects the global record. It allows India to engage with the world as a civilizational state rather than just a post-colonial nation. We must be careful not to fall into the trap of hyper-revisionism. Not every myth is a fact. Our journey must be rooted into rigorous research and evidences, not just emotion. We should acknowledge our ancient greatness while also learning from the internal social fractures and from the failures which we have seen in the past, and that has allowed foreign power or invader to take hold in our land, to make us slaves. So finally, what is the conclusion, or what we are going to conclude from all this discussion which we have done in this video? And the takeaways and the conclusion is that the path is forward. So the goal should be like decolonized mind. We must get rid of that particular mindset, and to achieve that we must pursue a certain roadmap. Like, we should read primary sources, not just to rely on the textbooks. Look at the world of modern historians who are using primary Indian sources to tell our story. Support indigenous research. We need more funding for archaeological survey or archaeology and the translation of ancient manuscripts that are still living or lying in the archives. We must change the conversation. We start to talk about our history, our own history, like move beyond the 200 years of British rule, beyond the Mughal rule, talk about the thousands of years when India was free, like before when these people came, this invader came to our land. And the closing thought must be like this: the history is not just what happened, it is how we remember it. If we continue to see ourselves through the eyes of our colonizers, we will always feel like second-class citizen of the world. But if we reclaim the grandeur of Bharat, we realize we are the heirs of one of the greatest civilization of human history, and it's our combined responsibility. We all have to carry forward this, and we have to basically take this mindset from to the next generation. We have to pass on this particular mindset to the next generation. If we will not talk about this, if we will not change ourselves and get rid of that colonized mindset, then India will not be free in totally or in true sense for say. So guys, I request to all of you that please try to read about our actual history, try to get invested into those things, be so much confident in ourselves, in the true history of India, and that is the only way we can reclaim our history and we can learn from that. And last but not the least, I always believe in, or I always say, history is a great tutor. It basically teaches you what the current generation or the upcoming generation must follow, and what is that, what are the learnings and the mistakes they must get rid of or try to actually avoid it. So friends, I request all of you, try to learn about our past. Apart from that, if you have anything to say, you can say in the comments.